Start the record, you feel me? Boy, we got Patrick CC. Mm. Why didn't Chris Brown create? I love Patrick CC, man. They get to this shit, though.
It's impossible to forget the 2009 incident where he physically assaulted his girlfriend Rihanna, who, as we know, was and still is one of the most popular stars of the past decade. Some of you from that moment on were never a fan of Chris Brown again. And while it did leave a stain on his reputation, being forever associated with this disgraceful incident basically didn't hurt his career at all. Today, Chris Brown has over 50 million monthly listeners, has more gold records than Elvis, and is still selling out stadiums all over the world. Just last week, he posted on Instagram about how people still hate him for a mistake he made at 17. But Chris Brown has made a mistake almost every year for the past decade. He seemingly isn't a changed man. So why didn't his career end? Today, you will find out exactly why.
It's Chris Breezy.
Stay hydrated. By early 2009, Chris and Rihanna were considered a music industry hitmaker power couple. Rihanna had 2 #1 hits, SOS and Umbrella, along with a number of hits such as Pon de Replay, Unfaithful, Don't Stop the Music, Shut Up and Drive, Disturbia, which was actually written by Chris Brown, Take a Bow, and many others. Chris also had 2 #1 songs, his debut Run It and Kiss Kiss, along with other hits like Say Goodbye, Gimme That.
Kiss, kiss.
Yo, Take You Down, With You, and Forever. Heading into the 51st Annual Grammy Awards, they were both scheduled to perform separately, as well as receiving multiple nominations for various categories. However, these plans ended abruptly when media outlets reported that the couple would not be attending the red carpet, and their performances were canceled shortly afterward. Early that morning, Chris had been arrested following a domestic altercation in a rented Lamborghini that left Rihanna's face bloodied, bruised, and swollen. But to fully understand what occurred that night, we must backtrack when the couple initially began dating. Chris and Rihanna were not your typical teenage romance. They couldn't dine at restaurants or book hotel rooms without paparazzi flooding the parking lot. With so much power, influence, and a lack of privacy at such a young age, things were bound to get ugly. Chris told Rihanna that he wanted to marry her. Before he proposed, he wanted to come clean and admit that he had slept with one of his female assistants. Rihanna was floored. She could no longer trust Chris for hiding this from her for so long, especially since Rihanna asked Chris years ago if he ever slept with this woman.
My trust totally was lost with her. You know what I'm saying? She hated me. After that, I tried everything. Like, we would fight each other, she would hit me, I would hit her. But it never was okay.
There were actually 2 previous domestic abuse-related incidents before the Grammys. The first offense cited occurred in Europe about 3 months before his arrest. Chris and Rihanna were engaged in a verbal dispute when she slapped him, and he responded by shoving her into a wall. The report also states that in January, Brown and Rihanna were vacationing in Barbados and got into an argument while they were riding around in a borrowed Range Rover. No injuries were reported, but Brown got out of the vehicle and smashed the driver and front passenger side windows. But on February 8th, it all reached a tipping point, and it was about to get bad. Chris, who was 18 at the time, and Rihanna, who was 19, arrived at the executive Clive Davis's legendary pre-Grammy bash. The couple were approached by the woman Chris had slept with before his relationship with Rihanna,
so fine,
the woman
bro.
who sparked trust.
But she's so fine, bro. Oh my goodness. What the hell? What the fuck? Why did that fall? Okay, hold on. Tell him what the yo, man, you is wild, nigga. Hold on. Nigga. And it's funny how it blacked that for nothing else but whole long stick inside my river. But boy, nigga, you is wild. Nigga, you wild. I like you, bro. I like you, bro. You wild, nigga.
Trust issues between the two. Chris
Honestly.
claimed he didn't know she would be there, but Rihanna was upset nonetheless.
I don't like
She
that.
began crying before the ceremony started.
I don't
However,
like that.
as the night continued, she gradually got over it. They drank, laughed, and enjoyed their night before leaving the venue. Up until that point, everything was fine, as Rihanna explained. The couple had a blast that night. On the drive home, Rihanna discovered a lengthy text message on Chris's phone from the woman they had encountered earlier that night. Chris claimed he never saw the message, but Rihanna felt like she caught him in a lie and he wouldn't tell the truth. She wouldn't drop the issue and couldn't accept that he could be lying to her. Rihanna felt like Chris's back was against the wall and it caused him to get enraged and become violent. Chris, on the other hand, offered a different story. Off top, she thought I was lying. She starts going off, she throws the phone, I hate you, whatever. Starts hitting me wearing a new Lamborghini. You know, she's fighting me and I'm like, look, I'm telling you the truth, I swear to God. You know I'm telling you the truth, stop it. So then she hits me a couple more times and I just
It doesn't go from translation to let's sit down, I'm telling you the truth. It goes to now I'm finna be mean and be evil.
So then I remember she like tried to kick me. It's like her just being upset.
But then I really hit her. Like I with a closed fist, like I punched her. You know, and it busted her lip.
And when I saw it, I was in shock, like, fuck, why did I hit her like that?
So from there, she just spit in my face, like spit the blood in my face, and I'm like,
And it enraged me even more, like it's a real on fight in a car. We driving in the street. So then I'm like, yo.
hey, we tripping. Like what the like what are we doing?
Chris says that he didn't start the verbal or physical fight, but he does admit that he retaliated violently, and that was wrong. According to the detective's statement, Rihanna made frantic calls and texts to her staff after Chris allegedly threatened to assault her when they arrived home. The outrage only angered Brown more, and he continued his barrage of punches as the vehicle swerved. All Rihanna could think to herself was, when is it going to stop?
But-
Eventually,
Niggas say it was hell for misogyny. Nigga, that's crazy, son. But nah, bro, you gotta chill out, bro. You gotta chill out. I fuck with you, but you gotta chill out for a little second, bro. You gotta chill out for a
Chris
little
pulled
second.
over. Brianna ripped the keys out of the ignition and pretended to throw them out the window,
Yeah,
forcing
chill
Chris
out,
to
bro.
exit the vehicle. While searching for the keys, Rihanna yelled, "Help, he's
Bro.
trying to kill me." A neighbor heard Rihanna's screams and immediately dialed 911. Frustrated, Chris walked home while Rihanna remained there until authorities arrived. After their Grammys appearance was canceled, the public soon learned about the truth regarding what occurred earlier that day. Following the news leaking to the media publications, TMZ released
Boy,
a
he
photo of
fucked her
Rihanna
ass.
where she sustained visible injuries. Someone in the police department leaked the
Jesus.
photo. Rihanna described this person as a very nasty woman who thought a check was more important than morals. If Chris's situation wasn't bad before, the visual representation of his actions made it significantly worse. He eventually turned himself into the authorities and was booked under suspicion of making criminal threats. It's important to keep in mind that we didn't truly hear Chris's side of the story until 2017, nearly 10 years later,
Damn,
because he
that's
chose to publicly admit his wrongdoings with this apology he uploaded to the internet.
Hi, I'm Chris Brown. Since February, my attorney has advised me not to speak out, even though ever since the incident I wanted to publicly express my deepest regret and accept full responsibility. Although I would do some interviews and answer some questions in the future, I felt it was time that you heard directly from me that I am sorry.
He carried that same sentiment to court as he pleaded guilty to felony assault. In August of 2009, Chris received 5 years of probation. He was ordered to attend 1 year of domestic violence counseling and undergo 6 months of community service. After the trial, Rihanna broke her silence.
I fell in love with that person. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that that's the type of person that I fell in love with. So far in love.
I'm
So
scared.
unconditional that I went back.
On average, I think it takes a woman 7 times
Give
before
it a
she
minute, big bro.
leaves.
Give it a
8
minute.
or 9, actually. And I don't want that to happen.
Then Chris publicly responded.
Is it difficult for you to hear Rihanna say those things?
it is. It's real difficult. It hurts, but it's just something that I have to be responsible for because I'm responsible for my actions.
He did the right thing by admitting his wrongdoings, but he still lost sponsorships, bookings, and radio play. Despite the backlash, he decided to release an album in 2009, Graffiti, which debuted at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 200 and sold 102,000 copies in the first week. This is still his worst performing album, but it's also easily his worst sounding album. At the time, people thought his career was ruined.
But wait, you say that 101K?
on the Billboard Hot 200 and sold 102,000 copies.
Nigga, okay, so nigga, 100K is good as fuck, cause a lot of people really can't even sell like 10K, and they big. Like, 20, like.
Copies in the first week. This is still
That's
his worst
good.
performing
That's
album,
good.
but it's also easily his worst sounding album. At the time, people thought his career was ruined, but actually, this was only a minor setback. Chris was about to dominate for the next decade, and although he claimed he was going to change his actions, that couldn't be further from the truth.
I have sought and I'm continuing to seek help to ensure that what occurred in February can never happen again. And as I sit here today, I can tell you that I will do everything in my power to make sure that it never happens again, and I promise that.
Chris was never blackballed from the music industry. Just 1 year after pleading guilty, he was booked to perform a Michael Jackson tribute at the 2010 BET Awards. During the performance, he famously began crying and fell to his knees while singing Jackson's Man in the Mirror.
Ain't no nigga, why the fuck you send me Deep Throat by Cupcake, bro? Yo, nah, you nigga, you funny, bro.
His breakdown sparked a positive reaction from viewers and celebrities alike, praised
Bro,
his ability
I
to be
fucking like you,
vulnerable
bro.
while honoring
You
his
really
idol.
funny
This
as
performance completely changed the public perception of him. Those tears won over the hearts of his fans and haters. They thought everyone deserves a second chance, especially someone as talented as Chris Brown. Coming off the positive press, Chris released another hit called Deuces. The 3 times platinum single was remixed by some of the biggest names in hip-hop, including Drake, Kanye West, Andre 3000, and Rick Ross. Chris thought the world forgave him, and in February 2011, Rihanna's restraining order against Chris was eased as a judge allowed the two to have contact with each other. But the world didn't forget, which made him very angry.
Have you been able to? How have you been able to
I've
put
been
that?
focusing on his album, you know. I think this album is what, you know, I want people to hear and want people to really get into. So definitely this album is what I want them to talk about and not the stuff that happened 2 years ago.
After this agitated interview, Chris stormed off the Good Morning America set, screaming down the hallway. He allegedly threw a chair at his dressing room window, which caused the glass to shatter on the street below, ripped his shirt off, and taunted one of the producers before ultimately leaving the studio where he was photographed on the street after lashing out. Later that day, he posted a now-deleted tweet that read, "I'm so over people bringing this past shit up, yet we praised Charlie Sheen and other celebs for their bullshit." Chris appeared in an interview days later and apologized for his outburst. Luckily for Chris, he found one woman who was there for him during all the chaos, Karrueche Tran. They had been private about their relationship,
Karrueche
but were seen
fine as
together a
fuck
lot
as
in early
well.
2011.
Boy, they got so many fine ass women in this world. Oh my, you. So many fine ass women.
Until the pair ultimately decided to make their relationship officially public. Chris then dropped his 2011 album, Fame, which stood for Forgiving All My Enemies. The album was a major success, with hit singles like Look at Me Now and Yeah ×3. Chris was able to sell 270,000 copies first week and earned his first #1 album. The next year he dropped Fortune, which would be his second #1 album. Back-to-back #1s proved that Chris Brown's music was good enough to look beyond his demons. It also helped that every major artist in the industry was totally fine with working with him, but he was about to get the biggest cosign that would fundamentally restore his reputation. That would come from Rihanna. Chris appeared on the remix of Rihanna's song Birthday Cake. In return, Rihanna featured on Turn Up the Music. The records were very controversial due to their past. Rihanna said she didn't understand the controversy. She didn't see how people could think it was a bad thing. Rihanna's defense over the music made it clear that she had forgiven Chris, but she took it a step further when she went on Oprah to publicly speak on their relationship.
He made that mistake because he needed help, and like, who's gonna help him? Nobody's gonna say he needs help. Everybody's gonna say he's a monster
guess you still missing
without
it.
looking at the source. And I was more concerned about him.
That is really powerful. Have you forgiven him?
I have forgiven him.
The person who was undoubtedly the victim in the situation has forgiven the assailant. That was enough for fans to fully embrace Chris again.
You know, man, like I said, man, people make mistakes, and if Rihanna's willing to forgive Chris, then everybody else need to mind their business and forgive Chris too.
It seemed ludicrous for fans to hold this over Chris's head when Rihanna herself felt compassion for him. Chris and Karrueche ended up splitting up during this time. Chris shared his struggles with loving 2 women at the same time.
You know, when you share history with somebody, then you tend to fall in love with somebody else. It's kind of difficult. You know what I'm saying?
Rihanna and Chris began dating again. He made a mistake and he's paid his dues, Rihanna says. Because of her support and their rekindled relationship, his reputation to the public was fully restored, and for the next 10 years he would have a wildly successful career despite a long list of criminal charges. In January of 2013, Chris got into a verbal altercation with Frank Ocean over a parking space, calling him a homophobic slur and then punched him in the face while two of Brown's friends jumped in. Chris was captured in public wearing a hard cast on his right hand days later, with no explanation for his injury. Despite clearly being assaulted, Frank ultimately chose to not press charges. Later on in 2013, Brown was arrested for felony assault in Washington, D.C., where he and his bodyguard, Christopher Hollisey, were involved in a physical altercation with two men outside of the W Hotel. Keep in mind, he was still on probation from the 2009 Rihanna assault. He would plead guilty to this assault in 2014. 1 month later, he was booted from a rehab facility after smashing his mother's car window during a family session. In early 2014, a judge ordered Chris Brown to stay another 2 months in a Malibu rehab, where doctors blamed the R&B singer's violent past on previously undiagnosed PTSD and bipolar disorder. They said he was responding to the treatment well. In May of 2014, Chris Brown was ordered to spend 131 days in Los Angeles County Jail by a superior court judge in California after the singer admitted to violating the terms of his probation, but he was released after 60 days. Then he released his album X, which sold 146,000 copies first week and debuted number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. In January of 2015, his probation was revoked after he left the Los Angeles County area to host a private party that led to 5 people getting shot. Him and Karrueche finally break up for good in 2015 when she found out that Chris impregnated another woman. In May of 2015, a man alleged that Chris
is really a bad person if you really think about it. What the fuck? Like, what the hell? Chris is really a bad person.
hit him after an argument over a basketball game at the Palms Casino Resort, but Chris denied and the alleged victim didn't press charges. He dropped his 2015 album Royalty, selling 184,000 units first week and debuted number 3 on the Billboard Hot 200. In January 2016, Brown was investigated by the police in Los Angeles.
But he is pushing them numbers though. You cannot lie about that. He's pushing them numbers. Cause niggas, like I said, niggas today can't even do that. Like say if he was big or something, feel me? A lot of niggas who really cannot like push them big ass numbers like Chris can. Like I don't.
After a woman alleged that he beat her and stole her cell phone during a party at the Palms Casino Resort. He was not charged. In June of 2016, he's sued by his ex-manager Mike G and claimed that Chris Brown brutally attacked him, punching him 4 times in the face and neck. This matter was settled out of court in 2019. In August 2016, a woman called the police and claimed that Chris threatened her with a gun outside of his home. He repeatedly proclaimed his innocence and was eventually arrested and later released from jail on a $250,000 bail. But he sued the woman for defamation and won. Through incriminating text messages, the woman told her friend, "Don't you know this freak Chris Brown is kicking me out of his house because I called his friend's jewelry fake? Can you come get me? My Uber is messing up. If not, I'm going to set him up and call the cops and say that he tried to shoot me, and that will teach him a lesson. I'm going to set his ass up." Him winning this suit is huge, because it started to put into question how many times he could have been falsely accused because of his status. And because of his past, his character continued to be defaced by allegations highlighted by the media, as many of his
like, first of all, this nigga could really life be in jail like for a long ass time, but niggas just kept putting that shit off. I don't know for what, but shit, that nigga could really like be in jail.
crimes were dropped due to people not pressing charges or lack of evidence. In April of 2017, Tampa police said Brown allegedly sucker punched a 28-year-old club promoter during a paid appearance. The charges were dropped due to insignificant evidence. His ex Karrueche filed a 5-year restraining order against Chris and won. Tran claimed that after the couple broke up, Brown demanded that she return diamond rings and other gifts that she had received during their relationship. When she refused, Brown reportedly texted her, "I'm not being nice to you no more. If I see you out in public again and I'm there, I will make you hate me even more. Don't be anywhere I'm out in public. I'm going to ban you from all events." In another text, he allegedly wrote, "Bitch, I will beat the shit out of you, and I promise you I will make your life hell." In February, Tran claimed in a sworn statement that Brown had previously punched me in my stomach twice and pushed me down the stairs. In separate reports, Chris allegedly threatened to kill her. In January 20...
Close the schools, nigga. They didn't go to jail, bro. What the for this nigga
2019,
is
authorities
out.
in
What the
Paris
fuck?
detained Chris, his bodyguard, and a friend on potential charges of aggravated rape and drug infractions. A woman filed a complaint with the police alleging she was assaulted at his suite at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. Chris and his associates were released from custody without charge just 2 days later. Paris authorities kept the investigation open, and Chris retaliated by following a defamation lawsuit against the woman. In the summer of 2019, Chris dropped his 9th studio album, Indigo. His criminal past seemingly once again had no effect on his commercial sales, as Indigo debuted at #1 on the US Billboard 200, making it his 3rd #1 album. I stopped in 2019, but every year he seems to have a major allegation or arrest. Ultimately, Chris complaining about being tired of this narrative of him being an abuser or violent man is fully self-inflicted. Every 6 months to a year, there's a new story about him punching someone or being violent towards someone. So is this narrative really about the Rihanna incident or repeated behavior? And for him to complain seems odd, because his career has never been held up, he's never fallen off, and he's never been blackballed. 3 #1 albums, 114 songs on the Billboard Hot 100, 11 top 10 hits, and nearly 200 million records sold. Most people choose to look the other way regarding his legal issues because they love his music so much. Most people are separating the art from the artist when it comes to Chris Brown. Most people don't care about his violent history. So if you're a person who hates cancel culture, you look at Chris Brown as a success story. For everyone else, I guess you're just hoping it doesn't get worse. One thing Chris Brown is right about is people tuning in to see Blueface and Krishan beat the snot out of each other in front of the world, and that's not okay. But you can hear all about that in this video.
Oh, that's for the next video. Shit, that's a good video.
When discussing Chris Brown, it's impossible to forget the 2009 incident.
But to really say something about, I don't know why it's slowing down, but I'm a person who hates cancel culture. I separate from the art from the artist, but this nigga, that nigga need to be in jail. Facts. I don't give a fuck though. But tell me why, look, I'm nigga really like open up goddamn Subway surfing this bitch. Goddamn, them motherfucker put that bitch underwater. I'm just, yeah. Bro. But this nigga is crazy, bro. But yeah, man, I catch y'all niggas on the next video, bro. Facts.